doing another video, part 3 I think of this little series, maybe a part 4, I don't know, see how it goes. So anyway, so we left off pretty much with the we don't have a purpose thing, and all we've got is this really messed up biology, a bunch of desires that need satisfying, and we're basically addicts. I've made this analogy before, I'll make it again though, but yeah, that's the game. We're heroin addicts, and there's some question as to how productive we are in terms of how efficient we are in acquiring satisfaction. How much is it costing us, the satisfaction we're gaining? It's could be declared pretty expensive depending on how you look at the world. But anyway, it's not about how you look at the world, it's about what we can argue the truth is. So basically, purpose is going to be described, I think, inevitably, it has to be, based on some equation that values human contentment, happiness, joy, ecstasy, whatever you're chasing, how much of that positive sensation you think is sufficient, balanced against this thing called suffering, pain, anguish, unpleasantness, a feeling of a bad feeling. How much, let's just make it real simple. Good feeling versus bad feelings. And that's sort of the equation. That's the value in the universe. And I don't think we can come up with any other greater value. So that's the game, is creating as much of that comfort thing and as little of that pain thing as possible. And logically, when you apply logic to the equation, it's really hard to come up with any excuse for us to worry about, to do that individually. To say, I'll take care of myself, you take care of yourself, and play the game that way. That's pretty stupid, because we know there's some human personalities that are much easier to satisfy than others. Some people are broken, and it's not going to be easy to make them happy. It's not going to be easy to create enough good to compensate for the bad that they experience. And there's always going to be equations of practical efficiency where, the grenade jumping on kind of thing, where you'll be able to serve more good by harming yourself rather than making yourself happy. I mean, there's some people who argue that the purpose of life is to be happy. And that's just such a narrow perception. Because if you value consciousness, it really doesn't matter who possesses it. Whether it's me or whether it's you. It's the same thing. And the basic values of pain and pleasure are no different because you possess them or I possess them. So it really has to be logically understood that you can't win this game by playing it as an individual. Because if you consume someone else's welfare, if you put them in jeopardy or put them at risk or make them work too many hours or do something else to them to acquire your satisfaction, then that is too high a price, because now you've created more bad than you have good to compensate, and that's the reality of our existence. So there's no point in arguing for any kind of personal happiness. The only thing an intelligent human being should be trying to do is find ways to maximize their personal efficiency in their interaction with these other creatures, to create as much comfort as they can, to eliminate as much pain and suffering and maximize the amount of satisfaction they produce in other people or other animals, because animals are part of that conscious equation. They are feeling beings, and they might not be as smart as us, but there's every reason to suspect many of them are just as capable of suffering as we can define that word. So this is complex, this game, and it just can't be played the obvious I'm me, I shall take what I want way. It's stupid. It's unintelligent, let me put it that way, unenlightened. It doesn't work as a practical reality, because practical reality dictates a different equation, necessitates a different perspective. You can't look at it that way and be reasonable. The truth is known. Our psychology deludes us into believing we're the center of the universe, and we're not. It deludes us into thinking we can win by filling our belly. Somehow our belly is more important than someone else's. And we can't rationally justify any such perception of how the world works, because that's not the reality. So anyway, yeah, this is going to be a nag now, because that's the purpose that we can make out of the mess we're in. That's the janitorial job we can be responsible enough to take, because it needs to be done. There needs to be a force in the universe that has intelligence, that knows the truth, and that will act on it. And we're that force. We're the only one capable of being that force. And that's the truth we've just got to come to grips with. Until we do, we're failures. Not only as individuals, but as a species, and as life itself. Look, we won't be failures anyway by my philosophy, but we're bigger failures if we leave that on the table and don't pick up that, whatever, I don't know the proper metaphor for it, but it's something that needs to get done, and we're the only ones that can do it, and so not doing it is irresponsible, stupid. So, not the most eloquent description. Having trouble with my jaw. I got neuralgia again. But anyway, that's the whole thing. You know, how much is the whole pain-pleasure equation is a tough one. Is that when people are going to argue forever? You know, what suffering is worth what superficial pleasure? You know, what satisfied desire is worth what misery? And some people will justify people, you know, dying in a coal mine for, you know, something stupid like, you know, 10 hours of light to read their book by, or some other kind of bullshit. I mean, they'll have an equation that'll say it's worth it for somebody else to live a miserable life, so I can pay $10 less for some product. And, you know, everybody's just acting out of their self-interest and not seeing that the whole structure of society has to be different. We have to judge individual lives based on their productivity, and not so much on what they're capable of, but how much potential are they leaving unrealized. Because to be fair, there's going to be people who are born into this life who just aren't going to be able to pull their own weight. And there's got to be some respect for that dilemma. You know, but the other side of the coin is there's this whole huge population now that thinks they're better than everybody else. These elitists who think, yeah, I can squander a couple of $1 million a year to keep me happy. You know, when that money could make hundreds or thousands of other people, could give them much more comfort. It's squandered on nonsense when it could be devoted to necessities. So anyway, that's the probably have to redo this part because I didn't do much of a good job of it. But you know, I'm a bad string of days. So, but whatever. Try again next time. But I think that's the end of the summation. Is basically the only value in the world, in the universe, is feelings. That's it. There's nothing else. And we've got to start devoting our intelligence to maximizing that equation of how much bad for how much good. I thought somebody was following me. Getting paranoid now. It's a bad sign. I don't know if it is or not, though. I don't know if it's really paranoia. It just might have been a sound, and you turn around because it's a sound. You say, oh, there's a sound. Hey, sun. I don't know. There's no sun over there, and there's none over there. But there's some right up there. Okay. My eye's still green. Yeah, so that's probably my problem. I got algae in my head or something. That's probably why I don't feel great. But anyway. So, sorry. Bad day. But it's okay. It's not a terrible day. So I really shouldn't complain. Oh man, that sun is brutal.